This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Christmas will be here before you know it. And you know what would make a great stocking stuffer for everybody in your family? Sterling Soap. From bar soap to shave soap, beard balm to lip balm, aftershaves and lotions, Sterling Soap has something for everyone on your list. Check out their seasonal soaps that will complement the scents of your home this holiday season. And they're more than just soap. They also have a full line of coffee straight from the Sterling Roastery. Find their full line of products at sterlingsoapcompany.com.
Looking for the perfect gift for that basketball fan in your life? Well, I've got a book for you. It's called Basketball Now. Newly updated for 2025, it spotlights 50 of the NBA's top stars. Think fast breaks, clutch threes, and buzzer beaters. Captured in stunning photography with sharp, readable analysis. From rising stars to veteran icons, this book is a courtside pass to the game right now. Wrap up a slam dunk this holiday season and pick up your copy of Basketball Now today at your favorite bookseller. This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Yesterday's Sports on the Sports History Network. I'm joined once again today by my friend and fellow sports historian, Dave DiPaolo, and we're going to be discussing some Monday Night Football history and delving way back even into the 1940s. So, Dave, you did a lot of research. So,
yeah, I did, Mark. Bear with me on this a little research, but it's important. It's important to understand what was going on. They just didn't set up a booth in a technical truck and say, okay, it's Monday Night Football, 1970, here we go. So they tinkered around with a lot of stuff beforehand. And according to what I was reading and according to what I saw, ABC had televised two NFL championship games. And Red Grange was one of the hosts of the broadcast. He was like one of the main men. And there were 1948 and 1950. 1948 was the Eagles against the Chicago Cardinals, and 1950 was the Los Angeles Rams against the Browns. Okay, and those were two games that they actually broadcast. And television didn't become popular between the 50s and 60s. It went from 9% of the households to 90% by the end of the decade. So I don't know how many people had television sets in 1948. It couldn't have been that many.
That's
but
right.
I wasn't aware of this either. Dumont was a television station. They made televisions also. Dumont was the name of the company. Mm-hmm. And they had a TV network, and they were kind of rivaling with ABC at the time. And so Dumont Television, they televised Redskin home games, okay? And then ABC took them in 1954. They took that away from them for whatever reason. And because ABC was big in the Chicago area. ABC was televising the Bears and the Chicago Cardinals. And that was their big thing. They had a 3 or 4 year contract for doing NFL games. And in the last year of the contract, they actually started stealing West Coast games. They started putting on Ram games a little later on in the day because nobody was doing that. The Rams and the 49er home games they were getting. Right. So that's how ABC even got involved with the TV in the very, very beginning. And then ABC fell out of the loop. In 1956, you're talking 14 years before Monday Night Football, ABC was out of the loop. And in 1960, they partnered up with the AFL. Okay? So they started doing AFL games 15 consecutive Sundays. That's what the contract allotted for. They had to do 15 Sundays. That was their first contract. And that was the first television contract for football where the proceeds, actually went and they were divided up amongst the teams. So that was, if you want to put it to me, in my point of view, that was the beginning of the slight corruption, I call it. Now what's going on with this Sunday ticket and everything, where we've gotten to now where people are paying $400 to watch NFL is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. But this is what it started in 1960, AFL games. And then what happened was that station Dumont were still around, and they carried a couple of Saturday night games, believe it or not. But the ratings were in the tank. Okay, it did not work out too good. And so you get through the 50s, now we're into the 60s, and in 1964, Pete Rozelle tried to carry a Monday night game. He didn't put it on television, but he had a Monday night game, the Lions against the Packers. Are you familiar with that, Mark, or no?
I don't think I ever heard that.
Yep.
I heard about this. I heard about them trying Saturday night games, and I know that didn't work out too well. But I don't recall that Monday night game in 1964. No, I don't.
64, it drew 59,000 people. But like I said, no TV. Right. So there's where the seeds were planted. Do you know what I mean? Because I guess the college was complaining you shouldn't be doing Saturday night games, and there was things that were going on in addition to just them experimenting for ratings. And so what ended up happening was, prior to 1970, Rozelle had 2 games each year. In 1966 and 1967, CBS carried the 2 games. And in 1968 and in 1969, NBC carried the 2 games. So within that 4-year period, there were 4 games on Monday nights. And then the negotiations started for 1970. ABC had the contract. ABC was the lowest rated network of the big 3, NBC, CBS, and ABC. ABC had the lowest ratings. And CBS and NBC already refused. They didn't want to carry the football games. So they pitched it to ABC, and they didn't want to really do them either, believe it or not. But they were reluctant. But then what ended up happening was they decided to do it. They were not coerced, but they decided to do it. And they hired Howard Cosell right off the bat. He was a big broadcaster out of New York City.
Yep. He
was very well known, and he was kind of controversial. So they signed him. He was the first one signed. And what would happen was how I don't want to say coerced, but how they got ABC to take the games was the NFL said, we're going to sign with the Hughes Company, which was owned by the millionaire Howard Hughes. Okay. And that's how they got him. Okay, no, they didn't want him to go against whatever they were doing in that time slot. So it's okay, we'll take the games. So they signed Cosell. They signed Roone Arledge as the producer. And he hires Chuck Forty. Remember those names? Chuck Forty used to come up the screen. He was the director, and he was very good with that. He was he had a lot of knowledge about that kind of stuff. Yep. And then they tried to do some different things to make it popular, because at the time football was mostly a 2-man booth. So they said, we're going to try to make it into like an entertainment broadcast, not just sports, not just a sporting event. And they wanted to go to a 3-man booth, okay, instead of 2-man. And they introduced instant replay, kind of. That was a new thing, kind of, instant replay. You didn't see a lot of that. No. And they added twice as many cameras as they did in a regular television. So before Monday Night Football, you saw X amount of cameras on the field. You didn't really get any instant replay, not too much of it anyway. Right. And so they were gonna bring on all this stuff with the 3-man booth. Okay, that was the big thing, and maybe, I was 11 years old, and so we didn't understand any of this stuff. All we knew is there was going to be a football game on Monday night. Yeah. Right? Yep. You turned it on. I don't know if your father was watching. You said you and your brother watched, correct?
Yeah, me and my brother watched it with my father, and then
right.
Just like you had this similar story. Yeah. because we're on the East Coast. Now, on the East Coast, these games aren't starting until 9 o'clock at night. And we're in school, so...
That's right.
So at halftime, you said the same thing with your father. He'd say, all right, that's it. Get to bed. But me and my brother had a black and white TV, a little black and white TV in our bedroom.
So did that same thing, Mark.
Yeah. My parents said, okay, you can watch the rest of the game up in your bedroom, but keep the noise down, and you got to be up for school. And so when that alarm clock goes off for school, you better be up. Because if you're not up, that's it. No more Monday Night Football. So we made sure... No. When that alarm went off, we made sure we jumped out of bed.
No, listen, it was almost identical, Mark, to what you're saying. It was we had a 13-inch black and white, but my Uncle Jerry would come over. He was on my mother's side, but he loved coming over to watch football with my father for some reason. They would actually go into the living room, and then downstairs there was another. My father had made a downstairs area. Most Italians had that. And my mother and grandmother had the main television set. My father had a spare set for the living room. Him and Uncle Jerry would use that. And then eventually then I'd have to go in my room. But you're right. The halftime highlights with Cosell were a big hit.
Oh, and couldn't wait for that.
You know, I don't even know if anybody really under the age of 35 can even understand it, because today there's such a barrage of stuff on television and all these ESPN shows. They're analyzing football till it's death. All week long, and they analyze the games on Monday. Then by the midweek, they turn it to the upcoming games. And you could go to the local broadcast, whatever team you like. You can get the local news in Dallas. You can get the local news in Houston, wherever you want to, whatever you want to watch. If you want, you can get all that today.
It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And you got if you got 30 to 45 seconds of a highlight of your team.
Yeah,
that was a big thing. That's what it was. He covered about maybe 4 or 5 games, and he had like a fake crowd noise in the background. Yeah, and the highlight would come on, and you'd see a couple of plays. You'd see like 6 plays, you know, you thought it was the biggest thing, right? That holy Moses, look at this game. You know, we didn't get to see it.
We couldn't wait to see that. And the only other way you could see any highlights was on Saturday morning. They would have NFL Films would have a couple of shows. One was called This Week in the NFL. They had Pat Summerall and Tom Brookshire, and that was like a half-hour show. So you got to see a lot. The other one was called This is the NFL. But the problem, you know, this was long before you could record long before VCRs and all that. So if you missed, if you had something you had to do on Saturday morning and you missed it, that was, you missed it. That was it. There was no way to go back and watch it again. If you missed it, that was it. It was done. So like you said, you had to wait until Monday night at halftime.
That's right. That's right. I mean, listen. You could pull up some of those This is the NFLs. They got them on YouTube.
That's right.
You got Pat Summerall had a bright red blazer on. I remember sometime. Yep. I remember vividly. There was like a little table in between the two of them.
Yeah,
they were sitting in chairs. Yes.
That was shaped like it was in the shape of a football.
Exactly. Listen.
Coffee
that
table.
That might have, listen. People say you remember things that, you remember things that were important to you. Like when you say, I can't remember where I put my car keys or something. And you know something? That was important back then to us.
That's right.
It was important to get the football cards. It was important to watch, This is the NFL or NFL Game of the Week. Remember that one too?
That's
where
right.
They just concentrated on one game.
One game, yeah.
And they analyzed it. It was a half an hour show. Probably what commercial was maybe 23 minutes. And they analyzed it. They broke it down. And it was always a close game. They would put a close game on because, that's what people wanted to see.
Yep.
So I'll get back to 1970. Again, they hire Cosell because he's somewhat of he was like a lightning rod, and they try to get Kurt Gowdy, but they can't get him because he's under contract, and I believe he was under contract with NBC because he did Super Bowl V, and that was on NBC.
That's right. He was good. He was good.
Yeah. Oh, he was very good. And then, believe it or not, they tried to get Vin Scully. He was the second choice.
Oh yeah.
But they couldn't get him. Mark says, "Oh yeah, they tried to get Vin Scully because he was under contract." Mark.
That's right, and he was the Dodgers announcer.
Yes, there you go. And then who they try to get the third guy? Jack Buck.
Really?
And Jack Buck had a previous experience with ABC that didn't go all too well, so he declined. He didn't want to do it.
Huh.
And this is what they did, and they end up getting Keith Jackson.
Yeah.
Who I believe was doing college games at the time.
Yeah, he was mainly college.
Yes. And for the third voice in the booth, they try to get Frank Gifford. Okay, right. Gifford's under contract with CBS. And they couldn't get him, so they go, well, this guy just retired from the Cowboys. We'll get Don Meredith. Yeah. And that's how Meredith ends up there. Okay, listen, what a combination, though. And this is crazy. I didn't know this at all. I never heard anybody even talk about this. After the first game, okay, by the way, ads in the first game, television ads, were $65,000 per minute. Okay, yeah. which is Trump change next to what they get today. That's okay. Right. What do they pay for Super Bowls per minute? Millions, I think. Oh, yeah. X amount of million per minute.
Yeah.
So, but look, 65,000 was a lot back then in 1970. It was a lot. Yeah. I'd like to know what that is to convert that over to today. And the Jets played the Browns, and the Browns 31-21. They beat the Jets. And the highlight of the game was Homer Jones ran back a kickoff for the second at 94 yards.
That's right.
That was the highlight of the game, really, kind of. And the funny thing was, he played for the Giants. Remember?
Later on, he played for the Giants. Yeah.
Yeah. So he went to a big market team. Right. The Giants were as big as it got back then in New York.
Yep.
And Henry Ford, okay, who owned the Ford Motor Company, who was most likely advertising on that first game, he calls up ABC the next day. He says, we want Cosell out, okay, because they thought he was too abrasive. Because he was, remember his style? He was going to tell it like it is. That's what his big thing was.
That's right.
And they didn't like it. And guess what changed their mind? This is the best. No big surprise here. Okay? Soon as the ratings became available, when the ratings became public, they said, oh, look at these ratings. Okay? Yeah. Forget it. We'll let him go. Okay?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, Mark. Unbelievable.
I like that you mentioned that because I think 1984 was either 1983 or 1984 was Cosell's final season.
That was his undoing, yes.
And as much as people said they didn't like him, he was arrogant, loud. After he left, the ratings went way down. The ratings from Monday Night Football went way down after he left. So,
listen, all the things I looked at and all the things I was studying up on, every one of them claimed that it was his style of what he was doing. And he didn't jump on guys' bandwagons a lot. You remember watching the game. All of a sudden, some guy you never heard of, he was something else. And then he's jumping on this guy's bandwagon, right? Yeah. All of a sudden. And then if the guy didn't do anything or something, you wouldn't hear a peep. As soon as somebody else did, he loved to do that. Yeah. You know who's kind of like that today? I'm going to be honest with you. It's Chris Collinsworth. Chris Collinsworth is very similar. He gets on these bandwagons, okay, right. and he's promoting these guys, and the guy might not do anything the rest of the season, but He's the greatest. But all the articles I read, everything Mark said, that it was his style was a key factor.
Yeah.
It was a key factor into the immediate success of the show.
That's right.
If you could, unbelievable. But, they said he had a lot of controversy. He showed up drunk on November 23rd, first season.
That's right.
The Giants were playing the Eagles, and he was gone by halftime. They sent him home. He threw up on Meredith. Okay, you remember the story, I think.
Yeah, he denied that he was drunk. He said it was because of an ear infection. He said he had an ear infection.
Yeah, listen. Whatever it was, it turned into a two-man booth that night.
That's right.
That was on November 23rd. And you'll say this, Cindy. The biggest thing I remember about that first season was the Cowboys getting shellacked 38-0, I think.
To the Cardinals.
They got beat by the Cardinals.
Yeah, it was an embarrassment. I
remember watching that game, and we were fans, Mark. We were young fans at the time.
Yeah.
Now we're old fans, but I mean, it's amazing. It was 55 years ago.
Yeah, hard to believe.
65. I'm 55. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just insane how vivid it was. Like, you can see yourself looking at you'll remember a play here and there in that game, but there wasn't much. I remember Meredith was embarrassed.
Yeah.
Don Meredith was slightly embarrassed by that.
Yeah, I think the fans were calling out his name. They wanted him back as the quarterback.
Listen.
He said, "Oh no," he said, "I'm not getting back out there." Yeah, that game
that was terrible. And Gifford came in 1971. The next year they hired Frank Gifford.
Yeah.
And he lasted, I think he was the longest lasting single individual guy for 27 years. He was there till 1998. Nobody was there longer than Gifford.
Yeah, he was there forever.
Yeah.
He was there a long time. But out of all the combos they had in that booth, I think most people would agree, Cosell, Meredith, and Gifford was the best trio that they had.
Yeah, listen, they talk about that. Now that you mentioned it, they said that in '73, Meredith had a 3-week run of some controversy on the show. He said that I guess there was a game in Denver. And he said that he was, the Mile High City, and I certainly am. He said, and people picked up on that. I guess they didn't. They thought that was racy at the time.
Yeah.
And I think the following week he was drinking. They accused him of drinking during a Bills against the Chiefs, a game, and he denied it. He said he wasn't. And then on November 5th, these were all like right in a row. He made a comment about President Nixon. He called him Tricky Dick, which was yes.
Yeah,
and
that was a big deal.
They didn't like that at all, Mark, right?
No. Then he left for 3 seasons to go to, he was announcing on NBC. And Alex Karras took his place, right? Yep.
Well, they tried Fred Williamson, and he was terrible.
They tried him in preseason, yeah.
Yeah, they tried Fred Williamson from the Chiefs. He was kind of an outspoken guy. Yeah. And he went on, his most famous line was, he was black, and he said, "I'm going to add a little color to the booth." Fred Williamson says it, okay? And so he didn't last. They blatantly came out and said, like, believe it or not, that he wasn't articulate enough. And they ended up going with Alex Karras, who was, I just retired, I think, from the Lions, correct?
Yeah, he was retired for a few years. And then he took Meredith's place for 3 years. And then Meredith came back. After, I guess he had a 3-year contract with NBC, and once his contract was up, he decided to go back to Monday Night Football.
Yeah. He also, Mark, got into acting. He was on.
Right.
He had a show at the time. He was on a show for those 3 years as well. I think also on NBC.
Right, that's right.
I can't remember the name of it, but during the 70s, during the 70s to 86, that time frame of 9 years, they did try games on Thursdays and Sundays nights. Do you remember that or no?
Yeah, yep, I remember that. That was great for us because the more games, the better. We weren't getting we didn't have the NFL ticket back then, so
No.
like you said, we didn't get to see nearly as many games as people see today. So that was a big deal.
No, it wasn't even close, Mark. You saw, what did we see on Sundays? 3 games, maybe. One station had the late game, and the other station had, and then of the game on Monday night. In the course of a weekend, we saw 4 games, I think.
Yeah, I remember a lot of times on Sunday. If a lot of times all we got to see where I live was the Jets and the Giants, and once in a while. You'd get to see a double header. I guess it had to do with they had the blackout rule at that time, and I didn't really understand how all that worked. But a lot of times, all you got was the Jets game and the Giants game.
Yeah,
and then you had to wait till Monday night.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of difficult to explain it to people. It's kind of difficult to, explain it to, they think it's always been like this. You can get all these games. You can get whatever you want,
No.
And, it was just, I think that's what made it so great, though. Do you know what I mean? It's like you got a little taste of it, but really not enough of it to where you just wanted more, right? Kind of.
Yeah, they gave you a little. It's like eating. It was like eating half a steak. You wanted more, but that's all they gave you. And then they kept you coming back for more.
Yeah, it was really, and it did turn into maybe not at first when it first started, but we were kind of really young in the early 70s, but it did kind of turn into an entertainment type thing. They started having guests on, and in 1980, they interviewed John Lennon. Cosell did an interview with John Lennon from the Beatles.
That's right.
And then in 1979, there was a couple of 1979 was the Darryl Stingley game. Remember, he was paralyzed?
Right. That was a
remember that
game, right? Yeah, that was a preseason against the Raiders.
Yep, but that was on television, and that was not good.
That was a shame.
That was not good. And you're right. 1983. I'm looking at the timeline here. That was the Alvin Garrett game. Cosell. Look at that little monkey go. But listen, they got him out, and they dug up some footage from him doing a game with the Jets. And he said the same thing about Mike Adamle, who was a white running back.
That's right.
He said, look at that little monkey. He goes, same exact line.
Yep.
So,
and he said that's what he called his grandchildren too. To his grandchildren, he'd say, "Come here, you little monkey."
I don't think he ever apologized, Mark, did he?
I don't think so, but you could say a lot of things about Cosell. He was arrogant and abrasive and loud, but he wasn't a racist. He was not a racist because look how much he supported Muhammad Ali when he went through all that stuff with losing his boxing, and Cosell was always in his corner.
One of the few guys that was in his corner, by the way.
Yes, one of the few.
Kind of.
Yep.
Then I'm looking at 1985, Mark, and they had a game on that still to this day, I think it was the highest rated game of all time. The Dolphins played the Bears. The Bears were undefeated, right?
Yeah.
And the Dolphins, and it turned out to be It turned out to be, I think they beat them handily, 38-24.
That's right.
And that got a share. I didn't know this until I started looking into it, but a share of the television audience is a snapshot of who's got their TV on, not how many television sets are owned by people in that area. Who has the TV on, and if it's tuned into that station, and it got a share of 49, almost half the televisions that were on at one point were tuned into that football game. I think it was 49 was the share, and the rating was at 29.6. Nothing ever even close to that ever again. Okay?
Wow.
At 29.6. Today, the ratings are on cable. I think the Cowboys in the 2000 played the Eagles. They got a very good rating. And I think it's the highest one ever on a cable thing and I think it's 18. It's like 10 points below that to give you some kind of a, yes.
Yeah, that's a lot. Big difference.
And what else happened in that 85 season? One other gruesome thing.
Oh, that
remember?
was the Joe Theismann. The Joe Theismann. That was gruesome. Oh, boy. And they kept re-showing it. They kept re-showing I had to turn away. I couldn't keep watching it. That will conclude part 1 of our look back on some Monday Night Football history. Join us again next week. We'll have part 2. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah. Thank you for listening. God bless.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.